When it's time to start putting your business idea into action, you'll want to explore a few basic steps. First, it's good to understand the difference between an employee and a 1099 independent contractor. An employee receives a W-2 tax form annually, which specifies yearly earnings and taxes withheld from a paycheck, including payroll taxes. But an independent contractor receives a 1099 tax form or multiple tax forms if you have multiple clients. And each of these forms lists the total income paid to the contractor from each company. The 1099 will not show any tax deductions because the contractor is responsible for their own taxes, including self-employment tax, such as Medicare and Social Security, and personal income tax. So it's very important to set aside your estimated taxes each time you get paid by a client so that you won't have a big tax bill at the end of the year. A good rule of thumb is to set aside 30%. Your accountant can walk you through best practices. The next building block of your business is the tax structure, the business structure. While your accountant will help you decide which path is best for you, here is the basics. Sole proprietorship. You don't need to do anything in order to be a sole proprietor. You actually are one right now. You don't need to register with the state. You simply list your social security number on your 1099 forms. You track your business expenses and your income, and you pay self-employment and income tax. So right now, if you got a client, you're in business. You don't need to do anything else legally to get going. That said, if you would like more protection for your business legally and also look at different kinds of tax structures, you might consider an LLC or an S Corp, which your accountant can share with you in terms of the pros and cons of both. Larger corporations will often go with a C Corp or a partnership. If you'd like more information from the IRS, there is an article listed here on our website. Now, as to which type of self-employment might be right for you, you have lots of options. If you need quick cash, you might consider gig work, for example, being a part-time driver for Amazon. You might also consider 1099 freelance projects, which could include a variety of unrelated assignments. For example, freelance writing for some clients and bookkeeping services for others. You're essentially creating a menu of flexible options based on your core skills, which you can scale up or down based on the needs of your market. If you want to sell products online, for example, antique jewelry or baked goods, you might consider e-commerce. You may also consider government contracting if you have experience working with the government, or maybe multi-level marketing. A well-known example of this would be Mary Kay. The advantage of this type of work is that the business infrastructure and the marketing plan is already set up for you by their corporate headquarters. All you have to do is implement their best practices. If you'd like to find freelance opportunities online, consider the numerous on-demand websites that connect employers with freelancers. This slide contains a sample of these platforms, and actually a very small sample because there are really too many to count. The positive side of these sites is that jobs are plentiful and you can find opportunities literally all around the world. That's also the challenge because you're competing with other freelancers around the world who might charge much less than you. The other factor to keep in mind is that you'll need to create a strong profile on these sites and get clients to recommend you so that you'll show up on the first page of results when an employer is seeking your services. You may also want to do some research on best practices or look up other freelancer accounts on those on-demand sites to see what works for them. When you download this presentation, you'll be able to click on this article, 10 Things I Learned Freelancing on Gig Platforms. Now, before you start pursuing your first client, it's important to define your target market. Do you want to sell primarily to consumers, which we call B2C, to businesses, which we call B2B, or to the government, which we call B2G? Each of these targets actually has a different segment that you're going to want to approach. So if you're going B2C, you're going to want to target a demographic. Maybe it's women between the ages of 30 to 45 who are working moms and need a specific service that you have to offer. Or maybe it's people from a different country even. You're definitely going to want to target a population because those individuals are going to want to know that you can solve their urgent challenges. Same thing with B2B. You're going to target an industry. Those industries have specific challenges. Maybe it's commercial real estate or nonprofits or financial services. Each of those industries needs to know how you are in a unique position to help them solve their problems. But again, you're not going to want to go for all of those industries. You're going to want to start by targeting one and show that industry that you are there to serve them. And likewise with B2G, you'll target a sector. Maybe it's a certain kind of agency. Maybe it's USDA or NIH or the military. In any event, all of those target markets would want to see you as the solution to their problems. So here are some initial questions to consider as you're identifying your target market. First, there's your overall business concept. Again, what are those urgent problems that someone would want to pay you to solve? And the more urgent the problem, the more likely they're going to want to plunk down hard-earned money to work with you. The less urgent the problem, the longer the sales cycle. Now there's the skills transfer. Which of your W-2 skills can you repurpose to solve those problems? In a previous video on BoomerWorks called Repurposing Your W-2 Skills, we show you how to do some of this repurposing through an exercise called Passiontivity. We also talk about a concept called ing versus So your ing skills, your profession. So for example, writing is a skill. Writer is the profession or the business that you could possibly repurpose into. And we have a whole exercise around that in that video. And then there's your business model. In what ways do you want to provide those solutions? Maybe you want to consult or train or broker relationships or deliver on-site services or use e-commerce platforms. There's so many ways to deliver, but you definitely want to pick one to start with because that's going to be your core focus of your business. Next, consider your marketing, which means telling others about your value. That's what marketing is all about. Yes, there are creative elements to it. Yes, you might have a logo and a website and any other kind of collateral, but at the end of the day, your target market wants to know how you can solve their problems and the value that you provide. Pricing, of course, is also a key consideration. It's important to do your market research to determine what fair pricing is for your product or service. Contact other people who offer similar products or services to see what they charge. You'll be amazed at what colleagues will be willing to share with you. And next, you'll of course want to consider your operations. How do you keep the business running? For example, the technology you'll be using, how you'll handle your accounting, and how you'll manage your time. Under the Resources tab of the BoomerWorks website, you'll find our Lean Business Plan template for other questions for you to consider as you're building your infrastructure. We also, of course, have a training center that have specific educational videos on these topics. So here are some helpful hints as you get started on your self-employment journey. Start with an initial plan. Remember, it will grow and evolve. You don't need to overthink it. You don't need to get into analysis paralysis. Just get going. Next, don't be afraid of learning some new technology. Never too old to learn, and these days so many technology platforms are very, very user-friendly. So it usually just takes a quick YouTube video, or maybe somebody in your personal life can show you the ropes, and maybe even another colleague. It's very common for small business owners to share tips and resources with each other, especially when it comes to new platforms. Spend a little time every day on your launch. You want to keep the progress going, and you want to keep your ideas flowing because once you stop, it's a little hard to get started again. So make sure every single day you're just kicking that football down the field. Next, find people who can help you test your idea. Those could be friends, family members, or colleagues who you can have safe conversations with, who can give you some honest feedback on your journey. And those very same people may, in fact, have your first customer lead. They might even be your first customer lead. Because, of course, these are the people who know you, like you, and trust you. And that's how business is conducted. So definitely go ahead and tap those people who are your biggest champions, because they are likely to want to refer you your first piece of business. And then along those lines, find people who can encourage you along the journey. You need cheerleaders. Being self-employed definitely has its ups and downs, and so having people who can support you is going to be very, very helpful as you move forward. As a bonus, please download this presentation on boomerworks.org/intro to self-employment for additional tips on the following slides. So slide 30, which comes right after this one, will be additional considerations for your business plan. Slide 31, initial steps to launch your business. 32, where to find additional coaching and support. And slide 33, suggested books and videos. Plus, as I mentioned earlier, find additional educational resources under our boomerworks.org Training Center tab. We wish you every success as you take your first steps on the journey to self-generating income. As a skilled professional, you have so much to offer your future clients. With courage and faith and some raving fans to cheer you on, you can be on your way to a thriving business more quickly than you know.